Cinemassacre's Monster Madness. Bloodthirsty Thursday.
Every Thursday this month, I'll be spotlighting Dracula and vampire-related films. It's Bloodthirsty Thursdays. To start it out, we have one of the first sound vampire films ever made, Vampyr. It almost was the first. It was being worked on at the same time Dracula was being made, but released after in 1932. The reason to watch it is for the surreal, dreamlike mood. The plot is weak and sort of confusing. I don't think anyone has ever done a synopsis on the film and had it make a whole lot of sense, though the basic setup is very simple. It's about a man, Alan Gray, who arrives at an inn next to an old castle. He finds shadows wandering about. A strange man gives him a vampire book. There's a sick woman who has the vampire bite marks on her neck. There's a doctor treating her with blood transfusions donated from Gray, but he's also caught giving her what seems to be poison, and he's working with an old woman who is supposed to be the vampire of the film, though you hardly ever see her. Next thing, Gray is in a coffin all of a sudden, and then there's a giant face in the window. What is going on? I wonder if the doctor himself is the vampire. With the blood transfusion, he's taking blood, but instead of giving blood back, he's giving poison. That's basically what a vampire does. They poison the person's soul. They curse them. It's my half-cooked theory that the movie is about the superstition against medical science. That just occurred to me. I don't know. But one of the things that makes the film so surreal is the lack of sound. To begin with, it's an early sound movie, but it's almost a silent film. There's lots of text. We're always looking at the vampire book, reading about all the mythology of the vampire. There's a music score, but hardly any sound effects, and dialogue is kept to a minimum. It was a German and French production, so the plan was to dub the actors' voices for all the different languages. No known English version survives, but either way, all the audio was recorded in post, so whenever anyone speaks, which is rare, the voices have this slightly weird dubbed feel, which adds to the surreal quality. There's lots of camera movement, which is ambitious for its time. With most old movies, the camera is always locked down. We usually watch everything from a fixed viewpoint as if we were watching a play, because that's what audiences were used to. Movies were a new thing, but here the camera is constantly following people around. There's POV shots. It's very advanced. The best part, which is one of the creepiest scenes ever in a 30s horror film, is when Gray is in the coffin. It's some kind of dream scene where he has a vivid experience of being carried to his grave. There's the image of his face laying there with his eyes wide open, and the POV shots looking up through the window in the coffin as it's being carried is very effective. It was written, produced, and directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer, or Dreyer. I've heard both ways pronounced. He's one of the film professor favorites, praised as one of the all-time greats because of his 1927 silent film epic, Passion of Joan of Arc. Unlike that film, this was a total critical failure. When it came out, people hated it. Audiences booed at it. Supposedly there was a riot one time and Dreyer had a mental breakdown. But after all these years, its obscurity has made it more interesting. People now look back at it with a fresh new appreciation. It's a really odd film. There's nothing else like it. I recommend it, but you have to be in the right mood, and you have to like slow-moving, atmospheric horror. Even being a huge fan of this type of genre, even for me, it's not the easiest film to watch. It requires a lot of patience, and still, I don't really know what to make of it, but I find it fascinating.